Many people decorate their homes with flowers simply because of their beauty, but what they do not realize is that hidden inside those petals and fragrances are divine powers that witches cannot withstand. Life is spiritual. What looks ordinary in the physical can carry extraordinary authority in the unseen realm. When witches approach a home filled with certain flowers, they sense a burning presence that tells them this is no place for darkness. Imagine a witch targeting you at night, sending curses, monitoring spirits, and evil whispers your way. As soon as those spirits approach your window, they are repelled by the natural fragrance of a flower God created. It looks simple, yet in the spirit it becomes a fiery wall of defense. These flowers are not only ornaments. They are warriors dressed in petals. Witches are not afraid of your physical strength, your expensive locks, or even your security alarms. What terrifies them most is when you align with the hidden secrets of creation that the divine designed to protect his people. Just as oil, salt, and water carry sacred symbolism in spiritual warfare, so do flowers. This is not poetic metaphor alone. Across cultures, from the incense halls of temples to the gardens of ancient kings, creation itself has been used as an altar of protection. When the subtle language of nature speaks, spirits listen. That is why today you must learn about 7 flowers that make witches flee instantly. Think about it, if flowers can soften hearts, bring peace, and even heal emotions, what do they do in the spirit when placed with intention in your home? Every fragrance, every bloom, every root carries an energy that the kingdom of darkness cannot resist. Witches know this and often distort creation, using nature negatively for their rituals. But when you reclaim it, you win the battle. Homes without these divine flowers are spiritually exposed like a city without walls. You might be praying hard, fasting often, but if you leave your home empty of these powerful symbols, witchcraft will find entry points. God in His wisdom has already given you natural protection. Today, your eyes will be open to see it. There is a reason ancient kings, priests, and prophets surrounded themselves with specific plants and blossoms, not merely for beauty, but because these living things carry presence. They were symbols of covenant, holiness, and boundary. Witches recognize that energy and tremble when they encounter it. You have probably placed flowers in your living room or on your dining table, thinking only of fragrance or decoration. After today, you will never look at them the same way. Every petal will remind you that your home is not defenseless. Every bloom will preach silently that light is stronger than darkness. Before I reveal the first of these 7, understand this: intention activates creation. A flower without care is still lovely. A flower planted, tended, and declared over becomes a spiritual stronghold. Planting and watering are acts of warfare when accompanied by faith. The first flower we must talk about is loved for its beauty and feared in the spirit because of its purity. Witches recognize that purity as a fire that burns their rituals to ashes. When this flower breathes, its fragrance releases an atmosphere of holiness. Place it at your doorway, and you announce that this house is sealed. People will see a bloom, the spirit world will smell a sword. This first flower is more than decoration, it is a shield in disguise. Its white blossoms carry the vibration of innocence, cleansing, and spiritual renewal. In many traditions, it symbolizes fresh beginnings and a new chapter of life, the same way dawn replaces night. Witches cannot tolerate it because purity burns like fire in their rituals. To them, its fragrance is not sweet but cutting, like a blade that pierces through enchantments and leaves their spells powerless. A woman once shared her story. After placing this flower at her doorway, she began to experience nights of peace she had not known for months. Disturbing dreams stopped. Gossip and envy that used to rise around her household fell silent. She realized that it was not only her prayers but the flower's spiritual assignment working silently on her behalf. Each petal stood like an angel with a flaming sword. This is how creation speaks, softly, but with authority. When you place this flower at entrances and windows, you close the gates where dark spirits attempt to enter. In the physical, it looks delicate, but in the unseen it blazes with divine fire. Remember, power is not always loud. Sometimes the quiet fragrance of purity is enough to push back armies of darkness. Aligning with creation means allowing what God planted to do its work. This is the secret witches know but hope you never discover. Now we move to the second flower, one even more feared because it represents resilience and strength. If the first flower speaks of innocence, the second speaks of resistance. Its blossoms are like chains broken in the spirit, an emblem of defiance against fear and intimidation. When it blooms in your home, it alters the very atmosphere, driving away heaviness and inviting joy. Witches send monitoring spirits to watch you, to study your weaknesses. But when they approach a house guarded by this flower, they cannot stand. Its presence blinds their eyes as if they were walking into fire. A man once testified that he was tormented nightly by whispers, shadows moving across his room, and footsteps that seemed to walk without a body. After someone told him to place this flower near his window, everything shifted. The noises stopped instantly. For the first time in months, he slept in peace. The fragrance did not just fill the air, it filled the spiritual atmosphere, creating a barrier no witch could pass. Place this flower in your bedroom, near your prayer corner, or in the family's main gathering space. There, it acts as a purifier of words, emotions, and even thoughts. Conversations grow lighter, rest grows deeper, and prayers rise stronger. Witches despise it because it restores what they work hard to steal: comfort, unity, and divine rest. Even in ancient times, blossoms were carried into temples as symbols of holiness and covenant. This flower continues that role, standing as a reminder that resilience is sacred, that chains cannot hold where joy has been planted. Together, these first two flowers form a foundation in your home. One purifies, the other fortifies. One guards your entrance like a watchman, the other strengthens your atmosphere like a wall. When they bloom side by side, witches know they cannot cross. To you, they may look like ordinary petals. To them, they are fire and stone, guardians of a household sealed in light. The third flower is often overlooked because it grows quietly, asking for little attention. Yet in the spiritual realm, it is called the troublemaker, not because it disturbs you, but because it disturbs every plan of darkness. Wherever this flower blooms, curses dry up like dew under the morning sun. Its fragrance is like a hidden sword, cutting through atmospheres heavy with fear and scattering every shadow that lingers too long around your home. Families who have been caught in cycles of loss, sudden sickness, or endless financial delay have discovered the silent strength of this flower. After planting it in the corners of their compounds, the pattern broke. New opportunities opened as if doors long locked had suddenly swung wide. Healing flowed where there was sickness. Joy returned where sorrow had camped. Witches loathe this flower because it reverses their arrows and cancels their assignments before they can take root. Spiritually, the third flower is the emblem of hope. Its blossoms whisper, "You will rise again." To a weary soul, its petals shine like dawn after a storm. In the unseen, it blazes like a beacon that blinds the eyes of monitoring spirits. When you position it in the corners of your compound or set its blossoms in vases around your living room, you are sealing the hidden entry points where witchcraft tries to slip in unnoticed. Every corner becomes a shielded gate, guarded not by bricks alone but by light. Now we shift to the fourth flower, known as the healer. Where the warrior flower of hope fights aggressively, this one restores gently. Witches avoid it not because it burns like fire, but because it dissolves their poison. When bitterness is released, this flower breathes sweetness. When confusion tries to creep in, this flower releases clarity. It is a balm dressed in color. The energy of this flower is comfort. It does not only stand against curses, it heals the wounds curses try to leave behind. One woman shared how constant arguments filled her home, sowing strife between husband, wife, and children. After placing this flower in her living room, the arguments stopped. The atmosphere softened, heavy words melted, and harmony returned. It was as if the flower's fragrance whispered to every heart, "Peace, be still." This is why witches despise it, they thrive on sorrow, division, and pain. But this flower dries tears, restores clarity, and leaves no soil for bitterness to grow. Place it in your dining room, your family room, or any gathering space where unity is essential. In the unseen, its fragrance knits broken threads back together, weaving your home into agreement. Spiritually, it represents God's power to turn mourning into dancing. Just as flowers once marked celebrations in ancient rituals, this one marks the end of heaviness and the dawn of laughter. Witches tremble because it dismantles their strongest weapon, despair. The third and fourth flowers work as a pair, one fights, the other heals. One cuts down curses, the other soothes broken spirits. One is a warrior, the other a nurse. Together, they make your home both a fortress and a sanctuary. And when witches sense both protection and restoration flowing in the same house, they know they have no chance. The fifth flower rises with a unique assignment. It stands as a shield against envy and jealousy. Witches feed on jealousy, it is the fuel behind many of their curses. Without envy, their arrows have no wings. This flower blocks that venom. It works like a mirror, reflecting jealousy back to its sender, leaving the spirit of envy powerless at your doorstep. Its blossoms radiate favor, declaring, "This house is covered by divine grace." In ancient stories, coats of many colors symbolized favor, and those who wore them carried a light others could not steal. This flower carries the same vibration. Instead of absorbing envy, it reflects it. Instead of letting curses stick, it causes them to bounce back like arrows striking a shield. People who once placed this flower near their entrances shared remarkable testimonies. Jealous neighbors who used to come often with heavy eyes suddenly stopped visiting. The flower created a line they could not cross, an invisible boundary charged with divine favor. Spiritually, this flower is not only protection against jealousy, it also magnifies your true identity. It reminds you that you are chosen, favored, and hidden under grace. That is why witches despise it. It exposes their jealousy and denies them the power to plant bitterness. The best locations for this flower are near doorways, study tables, and especially places where finances or personal items are kept. There, it builds a shield over both your household and your destiny. Now comes the sixth flower, the silent guardian of the night. Darkness is the hour witches prefer, for it conceals their movements. But this flower was designed as a lamp in that darkness. It is said that when the sun sets, its petals close like gates, sealing off every entry point witches attempt to use. Its fragrance spreads quietly, but its spiritual fire rages like a fortress. A young man once tormented by nightmares, shadowy figures, and suffocating dreams placed this flower beside his bed. That very night, the torment ended. The shadows left, the fear vanished, and his sleep became deep and peaceful. He woke feeling light, realizing the flower had acted as his night sentinel. Witches cannot thrive where this flower blooms because it shuts down their nocturnal operations completely. Place it in bedrooms, especially near windows or beside the head of the bed. Its presence transforms your sleep from a battlefield into a sanctuary. Spiritually, it embodies divine rest. Just as God promised his people a land of peace, this flower manifests that promise in the midnight hour. Evil dreams dissolve, heavy atmospheres lift, and what remains is silence filled with light. Together, the fifth and sixth flowers create a shield for both day and night. One guards against envy and jealousy, breaking the schemes that ride on human bitterness during the day. The other seals the night, turning your resting hours into a holy sanctuary witches cannot penetrate. When these flowers bloom together in your home, you live under a 24-hour covenant of safety. The seventh flower is the crown jewel, the one witches fear most. While the first six flowers cleanse, shield, restore, and protect, this final bloom dominates. Its fragrance is more than sweet, it is terrifying to the kingdom of darkness. When placed at the center of your home, it announces divine authority. It is not merely a plant, it is a throne dressed in petals. Witches sense it from afar and know they cannot cross its boundary. This flower symbolizes holiness and covenant. In many ancient traditions, it was seen as the flower of eternal victory, purity that could not be corrupted, and a sign that divine presence had entered the home. A woman once testified that her house was under relentless attack, sickness, financial dryness, and haunting shadows. Yet when she placed this flower in the center of her home, the atmosphere shifted overnight. The sickness left, the shadows disappeared, and doors of provision opened again. The flower had become a declaration: this house belongs to God. Witches fear this flower because it silences them. Their tongues grow heavy. Their rituals fail. Their curses collapse before they are spoken. Unlike the others, this flower must not be hidden in corners or by windows. It belongs in the heart of the house, radiating its fragrance into every room. In doing so, it blankets your home with divine presence. To witches, stepping near such a house feels like stepping onto forbidden ground. The spiritual vibration of this flower is profound. Where it blooms, holiness radiates. Where holiness dwells, witchcraft dies. Where purity reigns, darkness cannot survive. People often describe the shift in atmosphere after placing it. The air feels lighter, worshipful, filled with peace. The home itself becomes a sanctuary. When combined with the other 6 flowers, this 7th blossom completes the circle. Together, they form a wall, a fortress no witch can invade. But even on its own, it is a crown of fire, the unshakable sign that divine authority reigns in your space. Think of it this way: the first flower purifies, the second fortifies, the third fights, the fourth heals, the fifth shields against envy, the 6th guards the night, and the 7th enthrones the divine. With all 7, your home becomes a temple clothed in fragrance, beauty, and power. Flowers, then, are no longer just ornaments. They are divine secrets hidden in plain sight. Every bloom carries a message. Every fragrance carries authority. Witches understand this, which is why they distort nature in their rituals. But now you know the truth: these blossoms were given to you for defense, restoration, and victory. From today, do not see your garden as decoration. Do not see your vase as ordinary. See them as soldiers dressed in color, standing silently yet fiercely on your behalf. When you water them, you are not only tending beauty. You are nurturing light. Each touch, each word of blessing spoken over them, builds walls of protection around your family. And the more you honor them, the stronger their silent warfare becomes. Now that the secret of the 7 flowers is revealed, you must understand how to activate their power. These flowers do not operate by accident, they respond to intention. In the spiritual realm, what you do with faith becomes a declaration. Just as water cleanses and salt preserves, so too flowers, when honored, release divine vibrations. Witches fear not just the flower itself, but the authority behind it, the words, the prayers, the faith you carry when you place them in your home. When you arrange these blossoms, do not do it casually. Speak over them. Declare, "You are my shield, you are my fragrance of victory, you are the presence of light in my home." Words are seeds, and when combined with the living essence of creation, they germinate into spiritual walls no darkness can climb. Many cultures practice this without fully naming it: temples decorated with lotus, homes crowned with lilies, ceremonies filled with roses and garlands. All were recognition that creation speaks and carries authority. Think of Moses' staff, Noah's ark, David's stones, ordinary objects infused with divine assignment. In the same way, flowers are more than decoration. They are God's gentle weapons hidden in plain sight. Witches know this, which is why they attempt to use thorns, weeds, and twisted herbs for their dark rituals. But when you reclaim creation with purity and faith, their weapons collapse. Picture this: every time you water a flower in your home, you are not just caring for beauty, you are declaring warfare. Every drop becomes an anointing. Every petal that opens is like a prayer unfolding into the atmosphere. And as the fragrance spreads, angels align with it, guarding your home with unseen fire. You may not hear it, but in the spirit, your flowers roar silently. This house belongs to the light. No curse can enter. Witches cannot bear such vibration. Their rituals rely on heavy, stagnant atmospheres. Flowers replace that with clarity, sweetness, and divine fire. It is the same principle as incense rising in temples. Fragrance shifts the atmosphere, making it uninhabitable for darkness. In your home, these flowers serve that same sacred purpose. Take time to walk through your house and imagine each bloom as a watchman. See the first flower glowing at the doorway, the second blazing in your family space, the third holding corners like a soldier, the fourth soothing hearts at your table, the fifth reflecting envy away from your entrance, the sixth standing sentinel through the night, and the seventh radiating light from the center. Together, they form a circle of fragrance that witches cannot penetrate. From this moment, never underestimate the quiet strength of creation. Victory is not always thunderous. Sometimes it is a petal, silent and soft, holding within it the fire of heaven. When you understand the mystery of these 7 flowers, you also begin to understand the language of creation itself. Nature is not silent, it vibrates with codes, frequencies, and energies that either attract light or invite darkness. Witches have long studied this language, bending it for destructive purposes. But the original design was always holy. These flowers are God's whispers placed in the earth to remind you that His protection is never far. Think about it, a simple bloom can shift the entire atmosphere of your home. This is not superstition, it is vibration. Science itself affirms that fragrance alters mood, calms the nervous system, and raises energy levels. If this is true in the body, how much more in the spirit? When you align the physical with the spiritual, the effect multiplies. That is why witches flee, not because of the flower alone, but because the energy it carries harmonizes with divine order, creating an atmosphere they cannot survive. Your home is more than walls and furniture. It is a spiritual temple. The atmosphere you cultivate determines the spirits you host. When these 7 flowers bloom within it, you are announcing that only light is welcome here. Darkness may knock, but it will find no doorway. Witches may try, but their tongues will grow heavy before they can utter a spell. Do not dismiss the small act of tending a flower. Every time you prune, water, or touch a petal, you are feeding the guardians of your home. You are also training your own spirit in mindfulness, discipline, and harmony with creation. This is spiritual warfare that looks gentle but strikes fiercely. Remember, the lion does not always roar, sometimes the lamb carries greater authority. One testimony tells of a family plagued by endless misfortunes. Business failed, sickness lingered, and tension grew. But when they committed to filling their home with these flowers, blessing them daily, everything shifted. Doors opened, health returned, and peace reigned. The family understood that they had not only decorated their home, they had activated a spiritual covenant. This is the lesson: what witches fear most is not your strength but your alignment. When you align with divine design, their weapons shatter. Your words, your faith, and your use of creation become a threefold cord that cannot be broken. Flowers are part of that cord. They are not fragile ornaments, they are spiritual sentinels. From today, every time you see a bloom in your home, let it remind you, you are not defenseless. You are surrounded by divine soldiers clothed in color. Every fragrance is a sermon, every petal is a shield, and every bloom is a declaration: this house belongs to the light. Now that you see how flowers speak in silence, you must also learn to speak back to them. Words activate creation. Just as the Creator spoke the world into being, your voice carries authority to awaken the assignments hidden within these blooms. Do not water them in silence. When you touch them, declare, "You are my shield. You are my fragrance of victory. You are light in this home." Each declaration charges the petals, amplifying their spiritual vibration. This is not new. Across ages and cultures, priests and sages anointed plants, prayed over gardens, and offered garlands in sacred rituals. They understood that creation responds to reverence. What makes flowers powerful is not only their beauty, but the consciousness with which you engage them. When you treat them as allies, they rise as guardians. Witches, too, know this law. They chant over herbs and thorns, attempting to twist creation into darkness. But when you reclaim flowers with light-filled words, their power collapses. Darkness cannot survive in a field where every petal resounds with blessing. Your voice becomes the key that locks witches out and unlocks divine presence within your home. Do not underestimate the simplicity of this. One household may fast and pray for years yet leave their home atmospheres untouched. Another may pray with flowers, declaring blessings as they bloom, and instantly shift their environment. Both pray, but one aligns with the tools already given by creation. This is wisdom, to use what has been placed in your hands. Your home is not just a place to eat and sleep. It is a sanctuary where destiny is shaped, where children are raised, where prayers are spoken. The atmosphere matters. Flowers were designed as silent priests of that atmosphere. When you place them strategically, doorway, bedroom, corners, table, and center, you are building a temple invisible yet unshakable. Visualize it now, the first flower blazing purity at your gate, the second radiating resilience in your sitting room, the third standing guard in your corners, the fourth soothing your family table, the fifth reflecting envy away from your threshold, the sixth guarding your night's rest, and the seventh enthroned at the center. Together, they sing a hymn of light too powerful for darkness to bear. This is not superstition. It is spiritual truth. Witches understand vibration, atmosphere, and symbolism, but you are reclaiming them for light. When your home resonates with the language of creation, it becomes untouchable. Remember this, victory is not always a sword drawn in battle, sometimes it is a fragrance that drives away armies. Do not keep this knowledge hidden within yourself. The power of these flowers multiplies when shared. How many families suffer silently, unaware that their deliverance could be as close as a bloom in their living room? How many homes are torn apart by envy, fear, or curses, when the answer lies in reclaiming the spiritual language of creation? By sharing what you now know, you are not simply giving advice, you are planting seeds of protection in other lives. Comment, testify, declare publicly which flower you will place first. Your words are not mere engagement, they are alignment. When you speak it aloud or write it down, you seal a covenant in the unseen. Someone who reads your testimony may gather courage to act, and in that act their family will be freed. This is how light spreads, one household at a time, one bloom at a time, until communities become gardens no witch can enter. Remember, every flower carries a vibration. When combined, their energy becomes a fortress. Witches will sense it before you do. They will turn back before stepping foot near your home. Not because you shouted louder than them, but because your atmosphere declared, no entry. In this way, flowers teach us something profound: true authority is not noise, it is presence. Consider this also: when you water them, bless them, and tend them with care, you are training your spirit in discipline. You are practicing consistency in small acts that release large power. Every gesture of care becomes an act of spiritual warfare. Every bloom that opens becomes a reminder that victory can be beautiful, that softness can defeat darkness. Even science has begun to uncover what the ancients always knew: plants purify the air, reduce stress, and increase joy. If they can cleanse the body and mind in the physical, what greater cleansing do they bring in the spiritual when charged with intention? This union of natural and spiritual makes them unstoppable allies. Let the image settle in your heart: witches creeping in the night, only to be halted by the fragrance of a flower. Shadows circling your window, repelled before they touch the glass. Words of envy spoken against you, bouncing back like arrows against a shield of petals. This is not fantasy, it is spiritual law working through creation. So declare it boldly: where these flowers bloom, no curse survives. Where their fragrance lingers, darkness dies. My home belongs to light, and light alone. Say it until it becomes truth within your spirit, and watch as your atmosphere shifts. Now comes the moment of decision. Knowledge without action is powerless, but knowledge practiced becomes transformation. You have seen how each flower carries its own assignment: purity, strength, resilience, healing, favor, rest, and authority. Together they form a fortress around your home. But it is not enough to admire the truth, you must walk in it. Take action now. Do not delay. Even if you cannot gather all 7 at once, begin with 1. Place it in your doorway, or your bedroom, or the heart of your home. Speak over it daily. Bless it as you water it. Declare that every petal is a shield, every fragrance a weapon, every bloom a sign that light reigns here. As you do this, watch your atmosphere shift. Watch peace settle, watch fear flee, and watch blessings flow where curses once tried to settle. Understand, this is not about fear. This is about authority. You are not begging witches to leave, you are commanding them with the presence of divine creation. You are not a victim. You are a warrior clothed in fragrance and color, backed by the wisdom of heaven hidden in plain sight. Every flower becomes a soldier, every arrangement a fortress, every garden a declaration: this house belongs to the light, and darkness cannot stay. Visualize it now. See your home filled with blossoms glowing like torches in the unseen. Imagine witches approaching only to stumble back in terror, their curses burning before they can land. Picture angels moving freely through your rooms, carrying peace and joy, because the fragrance of your flowers welcomes them. Your home is no longer vulnerable. It is sealed by divine design. Let this revelation change not only your house but your heart. Flowers teach us that power can be gentle, victory can be quiet, and beauty itself can carry divine fire. They remind you that the Creator has already provided what you need for protection. All you must do is recognize it, tend it, and declare it. From this day, walk with the awareness that every bloom in your home is a sermon, every fragrance a song of protection, every petal a shield of light. Share this truth with others, and together we create a chain of sanctuaries across nations, homes witches cannot invade, atmospheres where curses cannot breathe, spaces where peace reigns supreme. Act now. Place the flowers. Speak the words. Water them with intention. And watch as witches flee, curses collapse, and light takes dominion over your home. This is your inheritance. This is your authority. This is your victory.